Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon, or good early afternoon, depending on where you are in the country. I'm Eddie Rodriguez, and I'm super excited today to unveil to the world CINC's new listing details page. And so a little bit about myself. I'm the director of product, and I manage the consumer, mobile, and ad tools teams for CINC. I've been with the company 6.5 years, and I've actually been doing product management for almost 2 decades. I've been blessed to work with brands like National Geographic, Fox Sports, the Weather Channel, and AT&T. And with me to help me out in today's presentation is one of my, not only my colleague, but one of my friends, Matt Feathers.
Oh, thanks, Eddie. Yeah, my name's Matt. I'm a real estate agent in the Nashville, Tennessee market. Been in real estate for residential real estate going on 10 years. I was in commercial prior to that. But also been a CINC client and a CINC user since 2014. The CINC Live team, the live training team, brought me on board late 2017, early 2018 to help out with their CINC U events and other functions that CINC likes to do. Big reason why I'm such a big fan of CINC and the way they handle their training is they use a lot of practitioners to roll stuff out, to test things, and to drum up best practices. So happy to be here and looking forward to seeing all this fun and new exciting stuff. Thanks, Eddie.
You're welcome. So I've broken this down, this PowerPoint down in sort of several phases. We're going to talk about the who, myself and Matt. We're going to talk about the why. We're going to talk about the what, and then we're going to end with the how. So to start off with the why, I'd like to ask myself, why would CINC change the listing details page? And I start with our product vision. And I'm sure a lot of you in your brokerages have sort of a company mission or vision statement that you use to guide your folks today. Well, we in the product group at CINC have the same thing. And so our vision for our product and what guides us and drives us every day is for ambitious real estate agents and teams who want to accelerate their sales. The CINC solution is a lead generation and conversion platform that enables growth of commission. CINC promotes higher ROI by generating a highly targeted lead and keeping that lead engaged with the agent until they're transaction ready. And that last statement is what we're going to focus on today. That highly targeted lead and keeping that lead engaged until engaged with the agent until they're ready to transact. Because that statement there is what drove the innovation on our listing details page. But in order to show what's new, I think it's very important for me to show you where we started. Because over the last decade, CINC has became the champion, not only in real estate technology, but on online lead generation. And the listing details page was at the forefront of that. So why change what we're doing if it's working well? Well, we did some analysis and we wanted to focus on areas of the listing details page that focused on engagement and intent. And so we broke down the listing details page into sections to figure out its importance, and we analyzed conversion across all of CINC sites. And what we found is that based on a conversion from new lead to appointment, we found out that agent-ready leads are 8 times more valuable than just a regular registration lead. And we took the registration lead and we valued it around $100. And of course, this could vary in market and on your spend, but we took the 1% conversion times a 10,000K commission And that's where we value the registration lead at $100. And so when we think about agent ready, there are certain lead behaviors that are correlated to higher conversion rates. For an example, if a lead is flagged agent ready by our AI, we value that at 5 times greater, or it converts 5 times greater than that registration lead. So we took that $100 and we valued that AI agent ready lead at $500. And then if a lead submits a property inquiry or asks a question on a property, well, that becomes 6 times more valuable. And we valued the property inquiry at $600. And then a showing request, which is a lead that's saying, hey, I'd like to tour this home, we valued that at 15 times more valuable than just a regular registration lead. And this helps focus our team on what lead behaviors we want to encourage to help you generate more closings. And so I think it's pretty obvious from this slide, we really want to capitalize on showing requests. So that's a little bit about the why of why we would go into changing a listing details page that's been part of our company for over a decade. Now we want to get into the what. So this is the new listing details page. And the improvements that we looked to take on with this page was looking at the photo gallery, looking at showing requests and requesting an information, adding new financial tools, and adding a contact form. We also took a mobile-first approach because today in our landscape, 60% of our traffic is generated on a mobile device. So we really wanted to hone down on the mobile experience because that's where the majority of the traffic is. We also wanted to maximize and keep in front of a home buyer the most important information above the fold. And then we also wanted to introduce new calls to action that drive property inquiries and increase showing requests. We also made it easier to share a property. And so now I want to break down, like I was saying, the most important pieces to the listing details page. And I want to start with the showing request because that's the most valuable. If you recall my slide earlier, it's 15 times more valuable than a registration lead. And what we did with the showing request is we took it from a 4-click interaction. So the user used to have to click 4 different buttons to initiate a request to the agent. So we've reduced that down to just 2 clicks. We also introduced a concept called ASAP, which we've enacted by default because that gives a sense of urgency to the home buyer, right? And we know that this interaction is the most valuable. So by adding the ASAP by default, we're hoping to get a lot more engagement. And then we also kept request a tour in front of the users at all times. And you're going to see this throughout my presentation, all the various different places that you can do a tour request on the listing details page. And in doing this, just in the showing appointments section, well, we saw a 250% increase on leads that have a showing request. And that 250% increase has just happened from June to August. So I'm super excited to see where this number goes. Property inquiries. So the second most valuable piece on the listing details page is when a lead raises their hand and say, I would like to talk to an agent, I have a question. We call those property inquiries. So what we used to have is just one request information tab on the listing details page for a home buyer to raise their hand. We've now introduced or redesigned that one, but then we've added 4 more calls to action on some of the most important sections on the listing details page. And the interesting thing about this is we went and polled home buyers across the country and asked them, what are the most important aspects of a listing when you're thinking about purchasing a home? And so things like schools and financial tools like mortgage calculator, and then the snapshot, like the beds, baths, square feet, all of those were high desires for a home buyer. So guess what? We decided to put a way for them to easily talk to the agent when viewing that section. And then last but not least, we added a contact form. And we made the contact form with some pre-canned questions so that they could easily just click one button and send that form to the agent. And in the property inquiries, we're seeing almost 100% increase in leads with a property inquiry. And next, we took on the photo gallery. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody on this webinar knows that pictures drive clicks, especially in real estate. And some of the challenges with our previous listing details page were using the photos. You had to go one photo at a time. And that just doesn't fit into sort of modern photo viewing, especially when you're on a mobile device. So we completely took out what we currently did for the gallery, and we introduced a new style that has a mosaic, and you can scroll all of the photos in the gallery when you open it. And plus it has a full screen photo viewer. And then we also embedded the tour request and property inquiry inside the gallery. So at no point is the lead ever able to not request a tour or ask you a question when they're looking at these amazing photos. And we made it easy to access the map. And for those properties that have a Matterport tour or a virtual tour, we also made it easy to access that from the photo gallery tab as well. And in doing so, we increased views per user on photos by 2x. We introduced a brand new school section, including a map that actually has the schools plotted on the map so that the home buyer can easily see what schools are close to the listing they are looking at. The map is viewable on both desktop and mobile. And you can see that in that school section, guess what? We've added that call to action for when the home buyer is ready to ask a question to the agent. Financial tools. So in designing this listing details page, we wanted to introduce some financial tools. So we have introduced the average mortgage rates in the US from one of our data providers, Optimal Blue. And we did a new redesigned mortgage calculator that's a lot more dynamic, where we're pulling, for example, the mortgage rates directly from the rates component versus hard coding it or having to change it, making the user change it on the fly. Both of these, especially on mobile, you can see that that tour request and request an info is right there next to the experience for which the home buyer's looking at. And this is something that no one else out there is doing when it comes to the mortgage calculator. We actually take the calculation that the home buyer's playing around with, and we package it in a nice note, and we attach it to the lead details in the CRM. So that when you walk into that conversation, you can see what numbers the lead was thinking about. And also this helps you evaluate those higher engaged leads because they're playing around with financial information on your CINC site. So let's talk about the performance so far from June to August. As I mentioned, we've saw a 2x lift in total inquiries across the board. We saw almost 100% lift in property inquiries and a 250% lift in showing requests. And you can see here with our showing request that right around the June timeframe, when we launched it, we saw that big tick up in leads that were requesting to look at a property. So I'm super excited, 250% in software. Let me just tell you, it's almost like a unicorn. It just doesn't happen when you release something. So to see this type of lift, it's been an amazing ride so far, and we just got started. When I look at the inquiries, again, around that June timeframe, we launched the tracking on the property, we launched the listing details, and then we added additional tracking because we have so many calls to action in the different sections of the listing details. By the time we got to August and had everything marked, we saw a huge jump. And this graph here, you can see what are the most popular interactions to a home buyer on the listing details. I'm not surprised that the first one on the snapshot, which they see as they're scrolling on the page, being the greatest, because that has at a high level the details of each listing. And then of course you have the property inquiry form, which is always in view, and then the contact form, schools, mortgage, and rates. So how do you take advantage of this inside the CINC CRM? We talked a lot about the home buyer's experience. Now, how do you as the agent take advantage when you have a property inquiry or a showing request? So for the showing appointment request, when the lead says, hey, I'd like to look at this property here, you'll be able to go inside the CRM and you will navigate to the filters, the appointment filter, and select showing, and then select any. And when you pull up your list of leads, you can easily navigate to the appointments tab and see the showing requests. Now, the ASAP, how we've defined it in the system, is a 3-day period. And the reason we selected 3 days, because if someone, let's say I'm looking at properties on a Friday night, would like that request to still be valid when the agent comes in on Monday morning to start tackling their leads. And so that's why the ASAP timeframe would be 72 hours from when the request was initiated. Property inquiries. Again, you'll go inside the CINC CRM, you'll navigate to the filters. We have a property inquiry filter for which you can select 1+, and that will filter down your leads to all of the leads that have enacted a property inquiry. And on the lead details, for all property inquiries, we do 2 notes. One that has the listings information or the property's information, and then one with the details of the call to action that the home buyer has selected. So for example, in this particular note, someone has clicked the snapshot CTA because the information in the message says, I want more information about this house. If it was mortgage, it would, the message would be different. Same for the rates and same for the school section. So the notes inside for the inquiries are contextual. So another best practice, an important piece to this listing details is having your notifications turned on. So you're going to see very quickly that you've probably already been getting a lot of alerts and appointment requests. And in order to get those alerts, you have to have the inquiry notifications turned on and the appointment request notifications turned on as well. I also encourage everyone to install the CINC Agent app because that allows you to respond anywhere, anytime. And it tracks everything from your texts to your calls right inside the app and your communications with that lead. So as part of the how, and I've seen some questions already come up, I'd like to turn it over to my dear friend, Matt, and he'd like to talk a little bit about appointment and inquiry talk tracks.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, Eddie, and thanks again for pointing out all that awesome stuff. Super exciting. We look at inquiries, whether it be an appointment or a showing request or a property inquiry, really is just enhanced lead engagement or enhanced lead usage of the platform, right? And that's what our hope is for that end user, that they can use our site to find anything and everything that they need. And we want to have as many offerings on there that kind of make it sticky, right? Something that just allows them or keeps them on that platform. And that's one of the things that I'm most excited about, is just more offerings, more options for these leads and or hopefully, future clients to click, to tell us something about what they're doing, what they're looking for. And it really just kind of gives us more tools, more, I guess, ammunition in our arsenal is a way to put it, for when we pick up the phone and call them. That is kind of our first and foremost thing that we should be doing, right? When your notifications are turned on and you're notified that there is a property inquiry, well, that to me tells me that there is some enhanced or engaged usage going on. And this is just a human being on the other end that could potentially be looking for some additional information. And it's important to realize too, like, remember, when somebody signs up on your site as a lead, as a buyer, they went through like a lot of steps to get there, and answering questions and trying to tell us a little bit more about what they're looking for and where they're looking. But they go through a lot of steps then. And then now when they're looking, we're saying, hey, like, we're here to help. And for you to be able to get more information, they can click on these buttons, potentially have a showing request. Just for me, like for me and the way I use the site, it just tells me that there's some more engagement going on the other end. And ultimately, like, I think your time frame for them to be qualified, it drops off by like 400% after 5 minutes. So we have to be prepared. Now, granted, we're not, reaching out 24/7, but if I get one of these property inquiries or a showing request, I'm picking up the phone within the first 5 minutes. I think that's crucial. Does that sound fair, Eddie?
Outstanding. Thank you so much. How about, what should I say?
Yeah. Well, the cool part about this is and how it's a little bit different than just a normal lead, like a buyer lead that rolls in. We do know that they have a favorite city, right? We see price ranges. We see beds and bathrooms, things that they've kind of identified, whether it's one property or 10 properties that they looked at when they first came in. But now we have a specific address. But I want to point out one thing. Even though we do have an address, and that's great information, right?
Mhm.
We still don't need or want to make an assumption, right? We don't know anything about this individual until we make contact with them. And that's why we always stress the importance of making phone calls. So getting them on the phone pronto is crucial. But ultimately, like, when I call them, you could go one of two ways, right? If they answer, great. That's a win, right? That's a huge win, especially in today's day and age with the amount of noise that's out there. but
Right.
two different tracks, two different paths, really. Hey, this is Matt with the home search site. I saw that you were looking at some homes in favorite city. Just curious, looking to make a move in the next few months or just browsing. That's our go-to opening line. But in this instance, I think it's okay to reference that specific address.
Okay.
Make that part of your script when you're reaching out. All right. Now, as far as like other tools for success and leveraging the platform, yes, you're going to get some folks that do not answer. It's possible that with these enhanced features and functions that some folks, they may click buttons by accident, but by all means, call back. Double dialing works. It's very effective. It creates a lot of curiosity. It's super effective. Call back later in the day, the next day. Calling is king and queen, period, here, guys. And you'll hear me say it again. We stress it very, very, very much at CINC. It's truly the very best way to qualify somebody and figure out what they're looking for, and more importantly, why they're looking. But ultimately, if they don't answer, you do have the ability, and it's a nice feature within CINC, to text them from the system. And then what I will do is I will attach that property. So via text and via email, you have the ability to attach a property to those. And
Okay.
you can do that from the platform. So I will follow up with a text and or email, preferably text. Email is just less effective for us in this kind of day and age, but follow up with a text message that does include a link to that property and
Okay.
just try to provide more value.
And then Matt, in conclusion, let's say I click the button on accident and you call me and I'm like, hey, Matt, thanks for calling, but I think I hit the button on accident.
Yeah, that we have to remember, like, these, again, a lot of CINC leads, they're just not ready to talk to you. They're not ready to talk to anybody. It's not personal. They may have just started in their process, but we also have to remember that there's a lot of people that they do need help. They want help. They're looking for somebody to help them. That's why they're raising their hand. So just be mindful of those kind of two tracks, right? But in the event that you do get somebody on the phone, again, huge win, right? You got them. If they're going to put up a lot of barriers, right? They might say, oh, I did that by accident, or this is not Matt, or I'm only browsing. Well, don't let that get you down, right? We train on this month after month at CINC. Just try to keep them on the phone. And the ways you do that is to dig in. Remember, like, they answered the phone when you called them. They more than likely have the ability and the time to speak with you. But if it's, oh, I just clicked that by accident, well, it might be, your response might be, well, perfect. While I have you, what brought you to the site? Or, hey, while I have you, what prompted you to browse in the
Right.
first place? It's something super simple. We're just trying to get a response to try to dig into their why. Why are they looking in the first place?
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Matt. We got a few questions, it looks like, and I want to be, because we've reached the end. So I felt like I went pretty quick, but we've got a few questions, Matt. If you click open the question, I'll take the first one. So Alex Reed asked, if the buyer clicks request a tour, and if the contact has not assigned, where does that go? If they are assigned to an agent, that agent would get the tour request, correct? Yeah, so that is absolutely correct, Alex. Whoever the assigned agent is to that lead would get the initial tour request. As far as what if the lead does not have an agent assigned, that depends on how you have your lead routing set up. I know some folks in the CINC system use a pond, or they have, what is it, Matt, that overflow lead routing set up. So it really depends on how your lead routing is set up.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer the first part of the question, yes, it would go to, the tour request would go to the agent assigned. Is there a way to embed any of the listing details page into a lead funnel and drive more prospects to our site?
Let's go. We got Jordan Thompson ask here, does this impact the team listing sign-up experience? So far, it seemed quite clear. The leads we get through the team listings, they've had some challenges with the team listings page. So I guess the question, how does this impact the team listing sign-up experience?
So it doesn't impact the team listing sign-up experience at all. So the listing details that you see is shared across all of them. So if they register through a team listing ad, if they register directly through a Facebook ad or a Google ad, all of our leads on your site are going to see the same listing details page.
I think what might be behind this question too is that if a lead comes in from a team listing ad, that when that lead is being generated on Facebook, they can say at that point, I want to tour the home. And if they say that, we create an appointment in the CINC platform automatically for that lead. And that's something we started doing like in March. That's separate from this. All these metrics you're seeing here are specific to users on the listing details page on your website. So we're actually, we're analyzing that right now to see for the Facebook leads that say they want to tour a home and then we create that appointment, are those of a higher quality than those that don't answer that question? Yes. So we're taking a deeper look at that to help understand if that's making a difference. And if it is, then we'll keep that feature where we keep creating the appointments. And if it's not, then we'll likely pull back on that appointment creation from that.
Thank you, Jeff. So Dwayne asked, you had an inquiry time frame of 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Is that possible? Yes. So the ASAP by default is the first selection that the user sees on the tour request. And we did that out 3 days for a reason. That is because if a lead was to say, create an inquiry or a tour request on a Friday, I want to make sure that that request is still active when you come into the office on Monday. So if you see a 3-day time period on one of those appointments, it's because they've selected ASAP. Richard, next question.
Is the schools section live in Canada?
Great question. So we use a combination for our schools data. And I probably should have mentioned this when we were going through that section. So the school's information actually comes from the MLS. And I know there are some MLSs, whether they're in the United States or in Canada, that do not provide schools information. And so to supplement, in some cases, we also use a third-party data provider to get schools. So it's a tough question to answer because I need to know what MLS you're actually on. Next one, Richard.
We got another question from Alex Reed. When we text call from the app, does it show our phone number on the CINC auto call line number?
That is a great.
It depends on if you have, like, if you text a lead from the mobile app, you have the ability to choose your CINC number or your personal number if you have the dialer, right? If you don't have the dialer, then you don't have that option. I believe that's the way it's set up.
I just saw a question pop up. Joe Howard, is the showing request featured synced with showing times in the MLS? It is actually not. So we display showing times from the MLS in a different section because the showing times are just slightly different than a lead saying, hey, I'm interested in seeing or touring this home in a particular time. So it isn't synced with the MLS.
Jump in and answer Chris here too, because he asked, can we expand on what we're doing to address bad phone number registrations? I've been burned with bad numbers and emails after an inquiry has been submitted. So there has been one change that Eddie didn't call out on the new listing details page is, when someone's first registering, they're often, they don't want contact. They're trying to try the site out and such. And so if they entered bad contact information at first, and then later they submit a showing request, well, that bad contact information is still associated with it. So there's a new feature that when someone's making a showing request or property inquiry now, it prompts them to to see what information they provided before and to correct it. So there's an opportunity for them to correct their contact information when they're raising their hand now. So that's number one. And then number two is we are working on a project around phone number validation that we will have users actually validate their phone numbers at registration. So that's a big initiative that's underway. It's really next on our list of initiatives. So we will be doing some testing of that and seeing how many users we can get to actually validate the contact information when they're registering. And so we'll have more to come on that, and we'll be doing some follow-up, and we'll certainly have another webinar when that is out to share the information and news with you. And then there's also a question about call recording. Will we ever have a way to record calls? Yes, 100%. That's also something we would like to do. And we've got that on our schedule as well. So it's a feature we're looking to add into CINC CRM. What else?
We have another question.
Are we integrated with Mojo? There is a Mojo integration. What time frame we're recording for the recordings? It's a high priority. We'll just say that. So I don't want to give a time frame and have it be off, but we'll say it's sooner rather than later.
And I'm not getting quiet, Jeff. I'm just typing some answers to some questions as well. Any more questions? I do want to mention CINC does have a promotion this month, a sales promotion for folks that are on the call that aren't CINC clients. And please feel free to contact our sales team for a demo by checking out our website, www.cincpro.com. And let me see.
Lynch, she'd asked about the inquiries coming in on properties that are already under contract. Why is that? That was another change in the new listing details page, that the listing status is now much more obvious on the page. Before it was kind of in the first section. You had to kind of scroll a little bit and see it. Now it's like front and center. There's a big badge. You can see if it's under contract or if it's an active listing. And so whereas before somebody might not have known when they were submitting that inquiry what the status of the listing was, should be much more obvious now, so that they're not submitting inquiries on properties that are under contract.
Oh, so Jeff Dwayne Caraballo, he said he needs inquiries and showings to pop when they come in. They get buried with everything else, and I presume a text alert can or does this. Please advise. So should we talk a little bit about the Agent Ready Launchpad?
Yeah, we can kind of give a quick preview of it. That's a project that our CRM team has been working on. You'll be seeing something starting to roll out next month on the app, and then it'll come in the platform after that. Whereas we're updating the Launchpad section of your CRM. So when you first log in, to show all of the contacted requested leads. So all of these agent ready lead types that we're talking about, we want to make sure that they're getting attention, that they're being promoted, that you can keep track of where you stand with them. And so we don't have mockups ready at the moment. We've got mockups ready, not for this meeting, but we'll certainly be having more news on that shortly as well, where you'll be able to see every single type of lead, whether it's a property inquiry, a showing request, an AI agent ready lead, an inquiry from Home Pulse, a contact form, add a messenger message. All of those we want to elevate and are going to be on the Launchpad so that they're not getting missed. And then after that, we'll be adding other leads that we call trending leads as well. So leads that are showing strong activity and strong buy signals, we'll be promoting onto the Launchpad so that you can keep track of the ones which are showing the most likelihood to transact.
Awesome. Matt, there's a question for you. Dawn asked, after how many phone calls without getting an actual contact, at what point do you leave a voicemail message?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I'm not opposed to, I'm not a voicemail guy, especially for prospecting. I will use them for nurturing and follow-up, but everybody kind of has their 3-strike rule, right? It really depends. You know, if you're frustrated and you're at 4, 5, 6 phone calls and you're not getting any response to phone calls, definitely try a text message, you know, with a call to action or one that does position itself for a response, not saying like, hey, I'm here to help when you need me. Nobody ever needs us, right? Try to get a response. But as far as voicemails go, yeah, after X amount, right? I don't know what your number is, but for me, it's something in excess of probably 4 or 5. I'm still trying to make a phone call. Voicemails is the easiest way for us to get blocked.
Thank you. Let's see. Natalie asked, can you send video text? Yes, you can, Natalie. We do have a video text functionality inside the CRM. I don't have the pricing off of my head, but I could definitely, if you ask your account manager, they can definitely provide that information. Let's see, Jeff, we have another one.
Hey, Eddie, I was going to say too, and Chad made a really good point. To me, this is, you know, it's enhanced usage of the platform, and they are referencing a particular address. I do think that when they do make an inquiry or they do send you a showing request, it's a little bit different than just purely prospecting. Leaving a voicemail that references that address, that property address, is not necessarily a bad thing. So if that works for you, then roll with what works.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, it looks like we got a question around advanced reporting functions. When is CINC rolling out some more advanced reporting functions versus third-party reporting tools? You're on mute.
Got it. All right. Yeah, that's kind of, there's a lot to that question because there's a lot certainly that can be done with reporting. There's going to be some improvements that we're making to the dashboard today that shows your performance by agent and by lead source. And so there's some work that's happening there. Reporting is something that we'll continue to work on. And then we're with the launch of our public API, which is another topic which is out there now. It's enabling third-party reporting to go deeper and do some things that they haven't been able to do in the past. So like our integration with CINC, for instance, is growing and expanding in its capabilities as well. But we got some work that's happening on the platform and then work to help enable third-party reporting.
Outstanding. Thank you. Richard, I'm trying to get it to these as many as I can. Do you have any that you have highlighted from the chat?
Chris Bowers just asked that there's he said, you say there's canned questions on the property inquiry, but there's a free text space for specific questions. Yes, that's true. Okay. So when you click the request info tab, that's where the showing requests are, or on the mobile app, there's a button for request info. They can type in their own question as well as on the contact form. So they can, if they have something specific, then they can type it in. Oftentimes they're just like, it's just a way of raising their hand and saying, I want to know more. So what do you know about this listing?
There's a question about numbers.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So getting to the Launchpad numbers and all of that, I think we should probably have, when we release our update, when we release our update to the dashboard, there's kind of complexity in how those numbers are calculated. And that's one of the things that we're addressing on. So they should be addressing, so they should be aligned with what your expectations are better. But we'll do another session on that when we roll that out. That's happening this year. So we'll be rolling out dashboard updates, and we'll have another session that explains what all those numbers mean and show you how they're being calculated.
Dwayne, so real-time inquiry. So currently the notifications that we have available are email, text, and push. And so if you have the agent app, push is probably the fastest because it comes directly to the phone. Sometimes the carriers delay a text message, or you might not get an immediate alert from a text. But I highly recommend for inquiries and appointments, you should have all three mechanisms, because that's the type of notification that you're not going to want to miss.
Eddie, I saw Maria had a question here about numbers in the launch pad. Had we gotten to that yet?
What's that?
Maria
Yeah,
had,
that's what we were just chatting about
Yeah.
right before that.
AI to change the verbiage. Oh. So, Robert, we are always looking to improve our AI. So if you do have suggestions that are specific to your area or specific to the business model you have for your brokerage, highly recommend you getting that feedback in via your account manager, and they can get it to our AI team for evaluation, and we can definitely look at improving the talk tracks of our AI product, which is called Alex.
Yeah, we're constantly updating messaging from Alex and scripts. And so we look at every piece of feedback that comes through and share it to discuss making changes there. So if you do provide that feedback, we'll definitely see it. One person said, Eddie, that they couldn't see where the filter was.
Okay.
And so do you have like our demo site open real quick?
I do. I actually do. Let me get out of my PowerPoint. Give me 1 second.
Or it's in your PowerPoint. It's under, if you look at their filters, property inquiries have their own filter. And so you can do property inquiries and then look for inquiries, list leads with 1+ inquiry. And then showing requests are in a different filter.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're looking to unify. So you don't have to go to two different places. But showing requests are in a filter under appointments.
There we go. Yeah, so showing appointments. Yeah, so when you look at the filters by default, there's 4 of the main used filters. You have to select more filters, and when you open them up, if you're looking for the appointments, they're set up alphabetically, the filters. So appointments should be at the very top. And then for the inquiries, you're going to have to go down to the P section, and you'll see property inquiries. All right. Is there a qualifying question to measure out seekers already working with an agent?
Hey, Joe, I'm happy to help out with that one, my friend. That is a piece of resistance that comes up month after month after month in CINC. And for me, I will just say, and I've seen this again month after month after month. It's a question we probably really shouldn't ask, right? Because it's an out. It's totally an out for these leads, because they'll tell you, yeah, I'm working with somebody, but the percentage of folks that are committed, that have signed a buyer rep agreement, are very, very, very low. I'm still going to try to get these people on the phone and just go from there. If they're committed and signed with somebody, they will tell you. They will tell you. But I'm trying to get to these people as quick as they can. Let's remember that they came to our site looking for help, right? So I'm not, your question's very, very valid, right? It's a real thing we deal with, but it can be a little bit of a limiting belief. So just trying to get to them quick.
And we've debated adding that question in registration, and ultimately decided you don't gain anything, right? So all you're going to do is everyone who has an agent already and is signed will say yes they do, and half the people who don't will also say yes they do.
Right.
And so you still won't really know, and you might end up discouraging people from calling those leads, because the lead who's like, well, I don't want to talk to anybody yet, I just want to look around, they'll lie, and say they're working with an agent just so that you don't talk to them. But we got to push past that. So it's not really something which gains anything to ask that question on the site.
I see a question from Andrew. Are there more preset auto tracks available for nurturing buyer and seller leads? So Andrew, yes, we are going to be working on an update on auto tracks, especially around the content. And so be on the lookout. I think maybe towards the end of this year, I'd suggest talking with your account manager. They'll be able to provide a better date for when we will be releasing some new content for the auto tracks. How can I set up custom behavioral text messages? Matt, you want to take this one?
You can't.
There's the answer. Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
So those aren't editable at this point.
got it. Got it.
And it's not something that's probably we won't discuss in the future, but for the most part, those things are very strategic. They are tested. They get a great response rate, and yeah, I mean, we just lean on the data, right? That's the reason behind that.
Mark asks, is there in the future, is it possible to remove the character limit when sending a text through the CINC agent app? So Mark, the character limit is based on the carrier restriction. We could look at removing that. It is possible, but what would happen is the carriers would take that long message and they would chop it into two. And so you would have the experience of part of your message being in one text and the other part, and depending on how long the message, it could be 3, 4 text messages. That's why we've had the restriction on currently, but it is something we could explore in the future.
Alex was asking, so are these leads exclusive to you, or does everybody get them? I've had a lead tell me I'm the 4th agent to call them. Happened to be a wrong number anyway. So 2 things there. So number one, yes, of course, it's your ad budget, right? So you're spending your budget that's driving traffic to your site, and those leads are yours alone. They're not, CINC doesn't, no lead that's generated on your site will be shared anywhere else. So not to fear there. And so what's interesting to me about that one is that if the number was a wrong number that was entered and they said that the 4th agent to call them, that sounds to me like somebody is trolling that person, right? So somebody's intentionally going to multiple sites and entering that person's information so that they get a bunch of phone calls. Not much you can do to stop a situation like that, but you can trust that that every lead is yours. But of course, one thing that does happen is when people are searching for real estate, they are hitting multiple sites. So they might be going to Zillow, they might be going, to Trulia and landing on your website. So you are most likely in a competitive situation regardless. And so that's why that speed of being first to contact that lead is so important.
Yeah, I think 99% of home searching is done on the internet. That's per NAR as of last year. And yes, these buyers are on multiple websites.
Here, let me just reply in the chat.
Yeah, that could be an MLS requirement. The question about listing agent and listing office, and that's not uncommon that the MLS requires to have the listing phone number prominently. So, we're looking to make sure that the client is or the lead is going to you and not the listing agent, but that's one that they're looking at from a compliance perspective to make sure. So that's going to be the same case wherever that listing is shown on any provider. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we are, Richard, I think we are at the top of the hour. Whew, I know I talked a lot. I probably got skid marks on my tongue. And I went very fast, so I apologize. But again, thank you so much for your attendance and participation and your questions. This was really awesome. I hope you're as excited as I am about this new listing details page. For those of you that are not with CINC, don't waste your time. Right now is the time for you to pick up that phone or get on that internet and talk to one of our sales folks, because we have some amazing sales promotions going on in the month of August. And you can always reach me or Matt or anyone at CINC via your contact by your account manager if you're a client, and through your sales rep if you're not. So really do appreciate it. I hope you have a glorious rest of your day and go out there and sell some homes.
Thanks, Eddie.